Hello and welcome to part 10 in this series. Today we'll be talking about um, files and how we can navigate through different files. Sorry about that. Should use a comment. And how we can navigate through different files, maybe write in them and use them as a tool instead. Okay, so now what do I mean by that? What if I didn't want to print out a certain value to the console? I wanted to save it in the background, but I didn't want the user to be able to see it. Now, that's where uh, the usage of a file would come in. The only way that the user would be able to see it is if they actually open that file, but it would not be able to be seen in the console. Now, how would I do that? So, first of all, let's create another file and we'll make this a text document where we can store a bunch of different numbers maybe. So we'll just call it numbers. Oh, whoops. Make sure that your extension is correct. And give it an extension so it will save as a file with no extension and it could uh, compromise things. So numbers.txt for text. And notice how there's nothing in this file. And now if you want Python to open it up and actually look into it, write in it, do whatever, you will need to use the following. Okay, so let's say you wanted to open up a file. I'm going to call this file 1 or F1 or whatever you want to call it. And I'll say I'll use the open function, open. And the file name that you're wanting to open, and you have to put this in your apostrophes because it is a string or your quotation marks. And I'm going to type in numbers, right, .txt. Make sure that you type it exactly, otherwise you'll create another document or another file. So you didn't actually have to create this file. Python would have automatically done that whenever you ran the program. And then next, you have to give it your authorization tag. And the reason why I'm calling it as an authorization tag is, or your mode here, as you can see, is because it gives the level of authentication for your Python program. So you can let it read it, you can let it write in the file, you can let it append in the file. So those are three different things that you can let it do. And we can do that by opening up another string and typing in A, W, or R. So R means read, so this will only read the file, read the lines in the file. It won't do anything. If you use the W, it will completely remove whatever's in the file and write whatever you tell it to write. And then if you use A, it will only append to it, so it will just add a new line or um, just continue off wherever you started. It depends on how you define that. So let's start off by writing, because we're going to write something into our file. Now, in this case, now that we have our variable set up as file1, we can say file1 dot write. And then we can write whatever we want. Okay, whoops, sorry about that. Okay, file1 dot write, and then whatever number you want to write. Let's say I want to write 6 into it, just for fun. And if I were to run this program, it will open this file, open numbers.txt, and then afterwards, after opening this file, it will take this file, and since you have given it the W, which means your write privilege or mode, it will take it and then it will write 6 into this file. Okay, so let's do that. Let's actually run the program. Now you'll know that the program's done running once it goes back to the beginning. In my case, it will show a PS, whatever. Okay, so now if I were to open the text file, there we go. We have 6 already in it. Now, how do we read this file? Now that we've already have the file, how do we read it? We know that there's 6 in it, so we can either change up the program or the code. I'm just going to comment out what we have written already here and say file 2, open to another. Oh, and also it's really important to close the file once you're done using it. Otherwise, it will stay on your RAM. But in this case, we just finished running the whole program. But if you were to run a longer program, it's really important, really, really important to make sure that you file.close. Otherwise, it will take up memory in your um, program, and it will continue to stay running and open. So you can't do anything else with the file except for write it, and you need to be able to close it here. So um, that's really important to do next time. So let's comment this out and let's read what's in that file. So I'm going to make another file or another variable and call it file2, even though we're using the same file, file2 to open, and then we're going to open the same thing, numbers dot txt, and then we are going to read. So we're going to use our read tag. Okay, and now we can print out what we want to read. So print file2.read. Okay, and it will automatically read what's in that, and it will print it out into the console. And like I said, don't forget to close it. So file2.close. Okay, now if I run it, I'll get 6 in it. Okay, so the reason why I had changed the name of the variable, I'm gonna remove all of the commenting on here and actually incorporate back into the code, um, is if I were to change up what I wanted to put in here, maybe I wanted to write 867 for some random reason, and I wanted to read it immediately. I can't read and write at the same time unless I change the permission to W plus and so on and so forth with the plus um, authentication. So you can call it W plus and then you can also read. But if you don't have that plus, you can only write. You can look more into that in the Python documentations. Sometimes it might not work as how you want it to work. So just to play it safe, I like to create a W and then an R, so two different variables here. And if I were to run this, it will write 867 into the file, and then it will read that file. So it'll close it, and then it'll change the permissions with the new open, and then it will close it after we are done with the whole program. So now let's run it. So you should write 867, and there we go. 867 is written, it reads it, and then it closes it. And now if we look in here, 867 is written, and it works. Now, if I wanted to just remove everything that's in the file, just simply put nothing in it, and it will just overwrite everything because we are using the W. And like you can see, there's nothing printed here, meaning that there was nothing in the file. So there we go. There you have it, working with files and understanding them.